After winning the District's 2/4 Sub-Regional Softball Championship in 2014, Maria Trival-Peace and her Hazleton Area High School teammates had to be so happy to lift that trophy. Trival-Peace seemed just as happy to lift our microphone after the victory to do some post-game interviews. Now Trival-Peace is back in the area after getting a journalism degree and playing Division I softball at Fordham University. We caught up with her on the latest edition of the Good Sports podcast and web series. Here's a little preview. And here we are. So you graduate from Hazleton Area High School. You go to Fordham where you're playing softball?
Yeah.
Division I level. And I think you told me you were going for, what were you going for then at that point?
All right, this is the longer version of the story, but I was going for journalism, and I was 2 years in, and I was like, Division I softball is kind of hard. I didn't really understand how mentally taxing it would be. So I was like, I want to know why my mind works the way it does. I'm really stressed out. I need to figure out a way to channel those different thoughts that you have as you're playing a sport, how to manage your time. So it's I'm going to add a second major, which I didn't think about the time constraints of it, but I did it anyway because I wanted to learn more about psychology. So at Fordham, long story short, I majored in journalism and psychology.
So Dave, my reaction to this as I was talking to Maria before the podcast was, if that was me and I'm feeling a little stressed out playing a sport and my major, I would probably take something off my plate. She added another major. Do you see this a lot? I see this a lot with athletes. They want to do more. They want to fill their schedules. You think that's a very athlete kind of thing to do?
It's about the competitive nature that you want to always be the best at what you're trying to, and you're never satisfied if you're an athlete. I think Maria would agree with that. You go into a game, you might be 0 for 2, but then your third at bat, you want to make sure that you get a hit and you do something to help your team, and to help yourself out, you're going to do whatever it takes. And in Maria's case, she doubled her major. Not if it was for me or you. I think that I might have taken a long walk or something like that to relieve some stress. Not only was she double majoring, but she was playing softball too, which is admirable. But as we both know, we've covered athletes a long time now. The best athletes are very good at time management, and it's a trait that every top-notch athlete has. And from A to Z, we can follow that as long as we've been covering sports.
So here's an interesting question. What did you find out in psychology? At looking at your Division I athlete self, what did you kind of learn in psychology that you were like, oh, did it help you? I mean, what did you learn and did it help you?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my favorite classes, it was called, I think, cognitive behavior, and it was all about positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, why we behave the way that we do. And I realized that the way that I spoke to myself sometimes was actually harming my performance, and I was reinforcing maybe dropping fly balls or swinging and missing. So I think that was really helpful too. And I think it was also really interesting to learn different coaching styles also, and understanding that different players vibe, for lack of a better word, with different coaches also. So I really like that too. Definitely the behavior side of it was my thing.
Dave, I've done a few stories. I've actually done, let's throw some B-roll up here, of when I interviewed Dr. Jared Spencer. He has a company called Mind of an Athlete, and he's a psychologist, and that's his whole thing, is dealing with athletes. And I've interviewed him a few times. I interviewed him when the pandemic first started. Do you think it would be vital for athletes, and Mary, I'll ask you this question too, to have this as a background? Do you think it would be better? Maybe all of us should get some understanding of psychology is what I'm saying, but it seems like athletes could really benefit from that.
I think athletes, it all depends on the athlete. I mean, some athletes, it's just roll out the ball or grab the bat, or
don't think about it.
Put a pads on and don't think about it, and you just let your natural instincts take over. And the competitive nature, go back to that, because a lot of the human nature in athletes is they're driven to success. And a lot of times when an athlete does overthink a situation, that's when they get themselves in trouble. And somebody like Maria, might have needed a little bit of help psychologically from that perspective. And I think her classes have helped her, and it's helped a lot of different athletes. But I think it's a case-by-case basis, and you'll see that on a pro level too. Pro level, college level, high school level, every level of sports.
So you graduate, you get your undergraduate degree. And another difference here, as we're comparing psychologies, Dave, I had the chance to double major at Penn State. I did not want to take the last high-level course because I was like, I'm enjoying my senior year. All right, I'm in state college. I'm going to have a good time. You decided you needed more softball in your life, really. Is that kind of what led you to Syracuse and the next step?
Yeah, so I applied to 4 different places because I really wasn't sure. I don't know. I think that softball is always going to be a part of my life. It's a family thing. It's a bonding thing. It's brought me my best friends, my biggest challenges. Like, I have softball to thank for everything. So I was graduating from Fordham, and I applied to 4 different grad schools, 2 of them which were sports admin, actually, because I was like, maybe I want to do the coaching route, and 2 of them were sports journalism. And the biggest reason that I chose Syracuse, because I was hoping that I wouldn't get into a school and it would help me like make it be a better decision. I chose Syracuse because I had a connection to become a grad assistant there. So I was still able to, do the sports journalism, but also be involved with softball still. And I think that it was the best decision because it helped me, grow not only in softball and as a human being, but also in, sports journalism. So I'm really thankful for that opportunity.
You can see that full episode of Good Sports at ssptv.com and standardspeaker.com Monday, October 5th.